Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Craig. I'm a registered nurse and a volunteer West Papuan advocate. For many years I've been following the Indonesian oppression in East Timor, and I visited that country many times after 1999 and saw firsthand what the Indonesian military did. And unfortunately they're doing the same today in West Papua. Indonesia became a democracy in 2000, no longer a military dictatorship, but unfortunately they're still acting like a military dictatorship, using their military to oppress their own people and also to oppress the right to free speech and the right to self-determination for the West Papuan people. Back in 2015, I travelled to West Papua and spent a week in Jaipur and Wamena, and I had the opportunity to speak to West Papuans firsthand and seeing the oppression under the Indonesian military, and also had the opportunity to write a report and gave copies to the Department of Foreign Affairs officials, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and also other people. Nothing's changed. And back in 2017, I travelled in September to the West Papuan refugee camps in Port Moresby and had the opportunity to speak to the West Papuans there and found out why they were there and the terrible conditions they're under. Now, we had the opportunity also to sponsor two of those West Papuan refugees who are now PNG citizens to come to Lithgow in December 2018 and tell their story. We invited the local community and also representatives of various political parties and local members and also the local council. Unfortunately, none were available. Some church groups were invited and they did attend, and also some local community people did attend, which was great. And the talk was at the Lithgow Workmen's Club. And also the local media attended and also did a story on it in the Lithgow Mercury. So it's on the public record that they came, and their plight and their story was documented and also on the public record. And you can see there, that's Baz and Sonny, and Sonny is actually talking in relation to his experiences as a West Papuan refugee in the camps in Port Moresby. Some pictures. These are some pictures that I took or got taken when I was there, and you may or may not be able to see. That's me there with talking to the West Papuans refugees, and they have a legitimate concern that they have been mistreated, abused and forced into these environments due to military oppression by the Indonesians. Now, people complain about refugees, but until you actually listen to a refugee and listen to their story, you really don't know what's going on. You only listen to the propaganda that our politicians tell you, and most of the time it's BS. Now, after my research, coming back, and I've done a lot of research into this particular issue, I found out that our Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his mate Jason Clare ALP, member for Bankstown, did what is called the Kokoda Track walk in 2009, and they actually went over and visited these camps. Here's a lovely picture of Scott and Jason Clare, just a bit younger looking, but obviously lost a little bit of weight there, but obviously that's them. And they made certain promises to the West Papuans in the camps. Now, I was only aware of that when I actually visited the camps in 2018. So I came back and requested a meeting with these two people, a meeting with the Prime Minister, because they promised resettlement in Queensland. and also a requested meeting with Jason Clare. Now, unfortunately, this is just a copy of a letter I got back from Scott Morrison, not really saying much, and can't be bothered meeting with me to discuss his promises he made to the West Papuans about resettlement in Australia. Now, likewise, Jason Clare refused to meet with me, and again he just sent me a stock standard letter basically saying, oh yeah, we support human rights and the rule of law, but we don't really care about West Papuan refugees. It doesn't matter what we told them when we visit them. We told them anything we like, but we don't really care. So following up, you know, people say, well, what proof do you have? Well, funny enough, Scott Morrison on the Alan Jones show, and is also in the coalition campaign, was he actually did a podcast with Alan Jones, and he actually confirmed with Alan Jones on his radio show that he actually went and visited the camps and actually talked to the West Papuans. So he actually knows why the West Papuans are there. They're being slaughtered by the Indonesians. He knows that. It's on the public record because it's on the Alan Jones show transcript. And also, you know, so is Jason Clare. So when they say, well, we don't know anything about what's going on in West Papua, it's just perfect. Now, another thing is, I also got letters from the actual West Papuans, head of the camps themselves, telling me that they did speak to those two people and they were made certain promises to be resettled in Australia and also to be looked after, given the oppression that their people are suffering under Indonesian military. So once again, we have a situation where the Australian government is covering up war crimes for Indonesia, lying about it, and not telling the truth. In breach of UN conventions, in breach of our own Commonwealth criminal law and our Geneva Conventions, covering up war crimes as if it's okay, but then demanding that we go to war to defend democracy in Iraq or Syria or, you know, Afghanistan. Not only does it make no sense, it's hypocritical and criminal. Now, this is just the first of a number of videos which I'll be making in relation to what I found out doing my research in relation to Indonesia, the Australian government, and the war crimes they're conspiring to cover up. This is only a small part of it. It's quite big, and it goes way back to the 60s. It covers up the Australian journalists, the Balibo Five, who were murdered. Their investigation was a sham by the AFP, and also it covers up all the war crimes the Indonesians did in East Timor. And, you know, when you've got politicians like, you know, Alexander Downer saying, well, we sent Interfed in, and we so great. Well, yes, and we also bugged the East Timor Cabinet Office, and we also got them exposed. When it was exposed, they're now prosecuting the poor people who exposed it, Bernard Cleary and Witness K, and also the war crimes that we did in Afghanistan, which are now on the public record. The defence lawyer who actually exposed it after attempting to do it properly through the administration of the departments, they refused to listen. He exposed it, and what happened? The AFP charges him under a Crimes Act, yet those in the Department of Defence who covered up the war crimes, which is a Commonwealth criminal offence under the Commonwealth Criminal Code 1995, Division 268, got let off. That's why we need a National Integrity Commission now, because of the corruption is so big. It's not only criminal, it's destroying our society. You know, fish rot from the head down, and we've got rotten governments, and no one's doing anything about it because we don't have any oversight at the federal level. So today I'm raising the issue about the West Papuan refugees, that our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, made certain statements and certain promises which not only he did not keep, he refused to acknowledge them. However, even he refuses to acknowledge he actually visited the camps. Well, now it's on the public record. We found it, it's on the public record, Alan Jones show. So he actually did attend the camps. So he did speak to the West Papuans, and he did find out why the West Papuan refugees are there. Because if they weren't there, they'd be dead. That's right, dead. There's over 10,000 West Papuan refugees across the border in PNG. And they're there not because they want to be there, because their homes have been burnt to the ground, their women have been raped, murdered, tortured by the Indonesian military, and the Indonesian government is turning around saying that it's all because the West Papuans are separatists. Well, let's get the facts right. Let's go and get the truth out, because if you start investigating this properly, a reasonable person would find out that the Indonesians have been lying for 50, 60 years about West Papua. They have no right to be a colony of Indonesia. The West Papuans were never given any opportunity to have a fair election, and if they tried to, they would be shot. So let's get the facts right. Why are we giving Indonesia billions of dollars in foreign aid when they're slaughtering the West Papuans and we can't even get proper care for our elderly in aged care? Why? You know, you people, the ones that vote these people in, you need to make a decision whether you want to keep voting the major parties in, because they need to be taught a lesson. If we don't teach them now, it's just going to get worse. Think of our children and our grandchildren in the future. If we've got such corrupt governments, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to go right down the end, from the top to the bottom, into civil society, local governments, everywhere. And it's up to us to make a decision whether we're going to let that happen or not. And we can do something about it if we vote minor parties and independents in, to keep them honest. Anyway, this is the first video I've made, and I have the evidence. The evidence is very clear that Scott Morrison, Jason Clare, knows that the Indonesians are killing the West Papuans, and they're covering it up. Because they were there. They spoke to them. They heard why they're there. The evidence is there. Not only from the West Papuans in the camps themselves, but also it's on the national website of the Australian Parliament. It's also on a podcast, Alan Jones show, radio show, that Scott Morrison stated that he actually went to the camps and spoke to the West Papuans. So it's from his own lips, he's confirmed that he was there. And of course, no one wants to talk about it. Attempt to raise this with various media groups and so forth, they just don't want to know about it. So unfortunately, it forces us to then make up our own documentaries, our own videos, to get the message out that we need to bring back truth, honesty and accountability in our government before it's too late. Otherwise, if we're going to go to war next time, it's going to be on a lie again. And our grandchildren and our children are going to be the ones that are going to suffer because of it. Think about that very carefully. Anyway, so I will continue to do what I can to raise awareness and hopefully let people know that we need to stop this rot that's happening in our government at the federal level. We need a National Integrity Commission now. Both major parties need to be held accountable because they're not, and they'll say anything they can to get elected. If you want that to continue and all the rorts they've been doing and all the, things that have been happening and let them get away with it, well, so it's up to us. It's up to you. Anyway, Anthony Craig, I'm a local advocate for the West Papuans, and also I'm very concerned about where our community and our future governments are going unless we hold them accountable. Anyway, I hope you've learned something today. And if you want to know more, you can go onto my Facebook or Twitter account and find out. I would suggest you ring your local federal member, Andrew G, and ask him why we're covering up war crimes with Indonesia. And if he says we're not, just tell him Anthony Craig's got some evidence that you're being provided with, and you're not. You're very quiet about it now. Thanks very much, everyone, and I hope you've learned something today. Bye-bye.